3 centuries ago, a group of bankers discovered something more valuable than gold itself. They found a way to create money from nothing, to lend what didn't exist, and to collect interest on thin air. What they built wasn't just a bank. It was a system, a code. And that code, written in the coffee houses and counting rooms of London in the early 1700s, still decides who becomes wealthy and who stays poor. Most people spend their entire lives inside this system without ever seeing its architecture. This is the code that still runs the financial world. And by the end of this story, you will understand why some families have stayed rich for generations while others work their entire lives and die with nothing. The year is 1694. England is broke. Wars have drained the treasury. The king needs money, but the royal coffers are empty. In a smoke-filled room in London, a Scottish merchant named William Patterson presents a radical idea to a group of wealthy men. He proposes they create a private institution that will lend the government money it doesn't have. In exchange, this institution will receive a charter, a monopoly, and a privilege that will reshape civilization itself: the right to issue paper notes as currency. The Bank of England is born, but here's what made it revolutionary. The bank didn't need to have all the gold it claimed to possess. It only needed enough to honor the few people who might actually ask for it. The rest could simply be promised, written on paper, printed into existence. For the first time in history, debt became indistinguishable from money. The goldsmiths had been doing something similar for years, issuing more receipts than they had gold in their vaults. But this was different. This was official, sanctioned, backed by the power of the state. And once that door opened, it never closed. The code was simple, almost invisible in its elegance. Whoever controls the creation of money controls everything built with it. The bank would lend money into existence, and that money would carry interest. The interest meant that more money was always owed back than was created. This wasn't a bug. It was the feature. It guaranteed perpetual debt, perpetual dependence, and perpetual power for those who understood the mechanism. Within decades, this system spread. The Rothschild family mastered it across Europe, establishing banks in 5 different countries, creating a network where money could flow invisibly across borders while governments fought wars they funded on both sides. Nathan Rothschild famously said, "I care not what puppet is placed on the throne of England. The man who controls the British money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply." He wasn't boasting. He was stating a structural fact. By the 1800s, the code had evolved, but its essence remained unchanged. The Industrial Revolution didn't run on coal and steam alone. It ran on credit. Factories, railways, ships, entire empires were built on borrowed money. The Carnegies, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, they didn't get rich by saving pennies. They understood leverage. They borrowed vast sums, built monopolies, and repaid their debts with the profits extracted from everyone else. The code had taught them that real wealth isn't earned, it's structured. It's about position in the system, not effort within it. Compound interest, once called usury and banned by medieval churches, became the engine of modern civilization. A dollar loaned at 5% interest doubles in 14 years without anyone lifting a finger. The lender grows wealthier in his sleep. The borrower works harder just to stand still. This wasn't accidental. It was mathematical, exponential, inevitable. And the code kept evolving. After World War II, in a resort in New Hampshire called Bretton Woods, representatives from 44 nations gathered to redesign the global financial system. The British Empire was dying. A new power was rising. The conference ended with a decision that would echo for generations. The US dollar would become the world's reserve currency, backed by gold, and every other currency would be backed by dollars. America, holding most of the world's gold after the war, became the new Bank of England, the new center of the code. But here's what most people missed. In 1971, President Nixon severed the link between the dollar and gold. The last anchor to physical reality was cut. From that moment forward, the entire global economy ran on pure faith. Digital entries and ledgers. Promises backed by nothing but the belief that they would be honored. The code had reached its final form. Money was no longer a thing, it was an idea. And ideas can be created infinitely. Today, the code operates on algorithms and server farms, but the principles haven't changed at all. Central banks still create money from nothing. Governments still borrow what doesn't exist and pay interest to private institutions for the privilege. The numbers have grown incomprehensible. Trillions in debt. Quadrillions in derivatives. But the structure remains identical to that room. In London in 1694, those who understand the code position themselves as lenders, as owners of assets that appreciate, as controllers of resources that others need. They use leverage, buying $10 of assets for every $1 they possess, amplifying every gain. They understand that inflation isn't a bug, it's a feature. A hidden tax that transfers wealth from savers to debtors, from workers to asset holders. They know that in a system where money is debt, being in the right kind of debt makes you richer while being in the wrong kind buries you. The hidden rule has never been a secret. It's been hiding in plain sight for 300 years. Those who understand debt, interest, and money creation become masters. Those who ignore it become servants. The middle class works for paychecks, pays taxes, saves in currency that loses value, and wonders why they can never get ahead. Meanwhile, a smaller group borrows cheap money, buys assets, watches those assets inflate in price, and borrows again using the appreciation as collateral. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. The code doesn't care about fairness. It cares about mathematics, and the mathematics favor those who understand the game. Every generation forgets this. They think hard work alone will save them. They believe the myths about meritocracy and equal opportunity. They trust that money is neutral, that it's just a tool for exchanging value. But money has never been neutral. It's the most powerful tool for extracting value ever created. The families who learned this code 3 centuries ago are still wealthy today. The families who never learned it are still poor. The code hasn't changed, only the players have. Some have learned, most never will. The question isn't whether the code is fair or right or just. The question is whether you'll learn it or live under it. Because right now, somewhere in the world, someone is borrowing money that doesn't exist to buy an asset you need. And when they sell it back to you, they'll collect the difference. That's the code. That's how it's always worked. And until you see it, you'll keep wondering why the world feels rigged. It is rigged. It's been rigged for 300 years. The only choice you have is which side of the equation you stand on.